You both obviously had very strong experience, still do, with the International Space Station. Tremendous success, particularly from the standpoint of working, basically building a home and a laboratory and a place to work with, so many different nations being involved and having pride there. Can you talk to what are the lessons of working such a strongly international mission, and what are the lessons also NASA learns from working with our international partners? Mike, maybe I'll start with you.
There are a lot of challenges to work in international projects, obviously, and many of our projects do have an international flavor. The things that have been important to me over the years of Space Station have been having processes that can bring those partners together, whether it's agreeing on engineering standards, interfaces, software, program decisions, the timing of those program decisions, the varying political impact for each one of the partners. You need a great deal of sensitivity and patience, I think, to be able to really work in that environment. But I think we recognize that the sum is much bigger than the collection of all the parts.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize that each of the partners have different goals. They're not identical, they're overlapping, they're complementary, and you really need to understand what each partner is needing from the partnership, what's important to them politically at home, where they have key players, and having some understanding of that helps you through this terrain of negotiating different aspects. I think it's also important that Mike was talking about a mechanism to bring people together. It's important you have a framework to work through that everybody recognizes as that method. One of the things I've seen over the years working on international agreements is that we've gotten more and more precise, more detailed in the agreements, and what happens when there's a problem in a project, the project manager's gut reaction is, on the next agreement, I'm going to write this down in great detail so this will never be questioned again. If you go back and look at the original agreement with the European Space Agency for Hubble, it's like a 5 or 10 page agreement. The Space Station Memoranda of Understanding are 30 some odd pages. And so you feel a little bit better that you're getting more precise and everybody's on the same page. But the downside to that is, especially for something like Space Station that's going to last many years, what you thought you wanted to do at the beginning may not necessarily be what you need to implement later. And so you need to be flexible. You need to have a framework that lays out sort of the top level ground rules, but then you better have good mechanisms. So all of these multilateral bodies where you're talking about standards and procedures, you need to have those where people can implement the new problems that come up or the new questions you need to deal with, because those things change over time.
One of the interesting things about Space Station and the way the MOUs were structured that Lynn had worked on is the early relationship for the development time frame was actually bilateral, the United States to each one of the partners. And so in the early days when I was out at Reston, the whole dialogue was more driven by these individual bilateral relationships where you would have joint program reviews with each one of the partners. But the MOUs also had envisioned this multilateral mode of operating the space station and working that transition and moving from dealing with one partner at a time to having everybody at the table, all of the discussions in a multilateral sense, was quite a challenge. And it was, so now we're in a situation where the flight control teams deal with control centers all over the world, and that multilateral process happens every day in mission management teams and activities. So it's been a fascinating progression to watch.
Yeah, and I think at the beginning, NASA was not convinced consensus would work. We wanted to have control. We were the lead. We had to have final decision rights. It's an operational program. You couldn't be put in a position where you'd reach an impasse and no decision could be made. But it's turned out that we do most things by consensus, and part of that is it's a single integrated facility. Anything that we do affects all of the partners, and we all have a common interest in seeing the program succeed, and that's a powerful motivator for bringing people together.
So in addition to the typical challenges of an incredibly complex mission of cost and schedule and the requirements, you're talking about this layer of the human aspects and really the political mapping of different partners with different requirements and setting up agreements, but making sure the agreements are flexible enough to be able to adapt and in a consensual kind of mode.